Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Solo ReacTalk. This morning, I'm going to be reacting to the black markets of World War II on the Homefront playlist made on the World War II YouTube channel. If you guys want to check out my previous reactions to the other videos on the Homefront playlist, remember the playlist card is going to be at the top here. Just click on it and you'll be able to access them. If you want to check out the original video as well as World War II YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
One idea, would you ever swap this for that? Well, desperate times call for clever solutions. This is On the Homefront, a sub-series of World War II in real time. I'm Anna Deinhardt. I already spoke about food supplies in the first episode of this series, where I looked at rationing policy and how wartime governments fixed prices for some goods to ensure everyone got their fair share. It is all in the name of the country's war effort, and a great many citizens have dutifully tightened their belts in service to it. But networks of illegal trading have also emerged as farmers and industrialists who feel cheated out of their profits hold back their products and sell them at much higher prices. It affects all consumer products from butter to bicycles. In Germany, the black market is already in full swing before the war even begins. Actually, it emerges almost as soon as the Nazi state begins fixing prices and rationing everyday items in the service of the ever-expanding war economy in 1936. Rationing...
When a government starts controlling, the market and starts regulating on how much things should cost, how many things should be available to the public, people are going to find ways to circumvent that. They are going to create their own markets, black market, as they say, and, they will meet the demand of the populace, those who want to buy their products, without government, control or direction. And sometimes it is through legitimate reasons. Maybe some people don't have enough food, some people need a specific type of food or resource or some sort of tool or whatever, and there are legitimate reasons why people would turn to the black market and get those things. And then there are people who are greedy. They want more money, they want more resources, from their business. And if the government is here regulating everything, they're not going to be able to make more than they used to. So they would turn to the black market, increase the prices of, the stuff that people need to eat or to use, and they make a huge profit out of it. So it's both out of a necessity and greed. Yeah. But there's just no way that, the government of whichever country is going to be able to control the black market. There's always going to be a loophole. There's always going to be someone, somewhere, someone very powerful, or even just a single business that's going to initiate this practice of creating a black market. And for as long as there's a demand for the goods and services, the black market will continue to exist. Yeah.
Of food starts for the General Republic in August 1939, shortly before attacking Poland. Farmers who feel the Nazi government is failing on its promise of a better rural life devise schemes to get past rationing regulations. They might fail to officially register all of their livestock for slaughter and therefore slaughter more than the government knows about. Or they might cheat with the weight of animal carcasses to hold back good meat for illegal sale. Almost immediately, black market prices for things like meat explode. During the first 2 years of the war, they are already 3 to 10 times as high as pre-war pricing. With so many joining the Gestapo or being drafted into the army, there are not enough policemen to investigate such illegal trading. Plus, inspectors from the Reichsnährstand, Reich Nutritional Estate, whose job it is to monitor trading activities, are often farmers themselves or related to farming families, and so turn a blind eye to black market activity. Similar practices become widespread on Poland once Germany invades and occupies in September 1939. Particularly in the German-controlled Generalgouvernement, any surplus food is exported back into the Reich to supply the population there. But many Polish farmers have no desire to feed the occupiers. The inefficiency of the Nazi administration makes it possible for smaller farmers to simply slip under the radar and retreat into self-sufficiency. Others downplay the size of their harvest or the quantity of the livestock in order to keep back foodstuff for themselves and the black market. Even though this is severely punished, sometimes even by death, these farmers count on the lack of German inspectors and the impossibility to check every shed or pigsty. They use every possible excuse for a smaller harvest, from hailstorms to plunder by partisans. It is not hard to find buyers for their held-back goods. City dwellers either travel to the countryside to buy food directly from the farms. Around Warsaw, a refined network of black markets starts to evolve. If you want meat, you can find farmers for it in Kharkiv. If you want alcohol or tobacco, you can go to Leginovo or Rimbotov. Ration stamps are also stolen from occupation authorities or forged and used as an alternative currency on the black market. For many Poles, ignoring restrictions becomes a patriotic duty. The German authorities blame the low production output in Poland on the Jews. And
So, it's not only about necessity or greed. Now it's also about resisting oppression from, a government that controls or occupies your country. That's also the third reason why people would enter into the black market and, try to acquire resources or goods and services without without the government, or should I say the occupying government, knowing what's going on. Yeah. Okay.
their black market. The occupiers declare the end of illegal trade when the Holocaust gains pace, but it's a lie. The black market still thrives and supplies the famished Polish population with much needed food, siphoned off from official production. The reality is that Polish Jews have little to do with the supply side of black market, but depend on them as buyers to not die from starvation inside the intentionally poorly supplied ghettos. Their government rations provide them with only about 300 to 500 calories a day, far below the amount needed to maintain a minimum level of health. Non-Jewish professional racketeers make a business out of it and bribe the guards at the entrance in order to smuggle the food. This is usually always second-rate. One specialty of the Warsaw Ghetto black market, for example, is dupniki. Sounds cute, right? Well, it isn't. Minced meat made from a cow's rectum. A body part discarded by butchers and smuggled into the ghetto. Bon appetit.
Wow.
On the Allied side, Britain and the Commonwealth countries also see their fair share of black market trading, but on a smaller scale. The British Ministry of Food takes control of livestock slaughtering in 1939, and over 11,500 farms and slaughterhouses have to close. Around 200 of them take up the knackery business, which is the collection of animal carcasses and the rendering of them into byproducts such as soap, glue, or gelatin. Despite the regulations, these knackeries also begin slaughtering old, injured, or ill animals illegally and sell the meat on the black market. Still, this all mostly remains a phenomenon of private trading. Neighbors will illegally swap food coupons, and grocers will favor their loyal customers with under-the-counter goods. Vera Hodgson, a British housewife, describes one incident in her diary. Went for my bacon ration, and while the grocer was cutting it, had a word with the man about a cubic inch of cheese. He got rid of the other customers and then whispered, "Wait a moment." I found half a pound of cheese being thrust into my bag with great secrecy and speed. There are similar stories in America, despite it not having joined the fight yet. To maintain supply for the Allies with Lend-Lease, everything from raw materials to canned goods to meat to gasoline and more is rationed. Again, we see private individuals looking to beat the system or turning a blind eye to under-the-counter transactions, like Helen Stutter from California. When I'd get home, I'd have 3 or 4 things on my bill that wasn't said out loud. I'd have a carton of cigarettes. There might have been a couple of pounds of margarine, or there may have been 5 pounds of sugar. I never knew what I was going to have. When Western and Northern Europe fall to Nazi Germany in 1940, here too, black market emerged. Illicit trading soars in Belgium. The National Food and Agriculture Corporation is set up by the German occupiers and fixes prices and controls agricultural supply. But it only manages to guarantee the population 1,000 to 1,500 calories per day. Again, black markets make up for the shortfall, bringing astronomical prices. In the pre-war days, a kilo of bread would normally cost around 2.6 francs, but by 1943 it will cost 49.
And considering that people don't really have jobs anymore, during the wartime, it's either you are fighting or you are ill or you are young children or, mothers and daughters, just stuck at home. There is no one working in the family, or the father has gone off to war. So, you have to find ways of funding, these things that you'll need in the black market. And because the prices have ballooned to such high levels, family jewelry, heirlooms have to be sold off, like the pearls that Anna was showing, or anything that is of value. Has to be taken to these black markets and traded for food. And yeah, it is sad, really, that the things that your family has been keeping from family member to family member is now, gone and probably never to be seen again, just to make sure that you survive, just to make sure that, you have food on the table for your kids and for yourself as well. So yeah.
More and more foodstuff is siphoned off for the black market, as it is more lucrative to sell there, slipping through the fingers of the German occupiers. In occupied France in 1942 alone, an estimated 92 billion francs worth of basic food products is sold on the black market. German occupiers make use of this as well. The Vichy government is obliged to pay a tax to Germany to fund the cost of occupation. 15% of this is used by German economic agencies to buy luxury goods on the Vichy black market to supply their country. German soldiers and occupation officials too happily participate at the black market to send home luxury foodstuff from France. They also create black market networks across Nazi Europe, looting or bartering for goods in one occupied country and trading them somewhere else. It supplies the high life in the capitals of Europe. Suddenly, you can eat Russian caviar in Paris or drink real French cognac in Warsaw. General government Poland becomes a sort of hub for the black market trade between occupied Western Europe and the Eastern Front. There, following the German invasion in 1941, the government of the USSR unofficially sanctions black market trading. The Kolkats market, which illegally sell the surplus produced by the collective farms, have traditionally been a thorn in the government's side, and contrary to socialist principles of equal distribution of goods. In the late 1930s, many petty traders who frequent these bazaars were sent to labor camps or shot in mass operations to shut them down. But since the Great Patriotic War began, the government chooses to turn a blind eye to it, understanding the need to supplement food provided in a period of national emergency. They replace criminal sanctions for private selling with small fines not exceeding 300 rubles. The supply situation becomes so desperate that illicit trading is the only way for many Soviet citizens to survive. Even before 1941, people were hoarding food in fear of famine. The bread itself had become an alternate currency. 1 kilogram of black bread, which equals about 2 daily rations for a worker in the defense industry, can be swapped for 300 grams of meat, 2 liters of milk, or 2 kilograms of potatoes.
Black bread? I don't think I've ever eaten black bread. I've eaten white bread and brown bread. And I like brown bread. But black bread? Huh, interesting.
The German occupation of the country's best agricultural land tightens officials' supply even further. In 1943, 82% of a household's budget for food will go to the black market. In Japan, it is no different than anywhere else during the war. Food supply is low, and workers travel into the countryside to barter for food with the farmers. Factory owners even buy food from the black market to distribute to their workers. The government tries to release more resources by exploiting the agriculture of the occupied countries, requesting huge quantities of rice from Burma well below market prices. But this just creates new black market economies, when Burmese farmers cut back on their production and sell their surpluses secretly. In the Philippines, Japanese exploitation and the following shortages drive the black market price for rice through the roof. The price for a kvain of rice, which is 56 kilograms, rises from 6 to 7 pesos in 1941 to 30 pesos in 1942, when the US has entered the war. There, the economy now on war, fooding the soaring war industry, raises wages quickly. The national private income level doubles from 1941 to 1942. But with rationing and fixed prices, there's little opportunity for Americans to spend their new money, and it often ends up on, the black market. In May 1942, the New York Times comments, "As long as there is more cash to spend, then there are things to spend it on, and prices are not allowed to rise openly, they will rise privately." The US bootleg business is already more defined, if not bigger than it was in Prohibition's peephole days. I should say, though, that public consensus will increasingly fall on the side of price control. Around 90% will be in favor in the last years of the war. In general, in the course of the war, food supply drastically decreases, and therefore more and more goods are diverted to the black market, just as more and more people turn to it in order to survive. The Third Reich increasingly struggles with the short food supply as well, despite the early preparations for this aspect of the war. The occupied countries simply don't deliver enough goods to feed all the Germans anymore, as their economy is exhausted by the war and the black markets are swallowing up more and more products for the starving population to buy. To balance such losses, Nazi German economy agencies increasingly siphon off black market goods in occupied countries. German soldiers are told in March 1942 to collect as many foodstuffs as possible and to send them home to their families. One way to do so, of course, is the local black market, and the cycle only deepens. In her diary, Naranja Melon writes of the riches her father brings home. He brought lots of things with him: clothes, stockings, dried beans, writing paper, liver sausage, carrots in meat sauce, gloves, soap, belts, shoes, washing powder, 4 pears and almonds, cinnamon and pepper.
I guess when you're that young, you just don't have that luxury to ask, where is this all coming from? You know? And what if the gloves have the name of someone, or the shoes have the name of someone, or the socks? You don't have the luxury to ask. You just have to take it, purely because you also need to survive. And, it comes from your father. Would you dare question him?
The table was full. Wherever the men are, they buy things. The black market is a wartime phenomenon that knows no pity for the poor. It may sometimes be a means to resist the occupying forces, but at its core, It is simply a way to stay alive against all odds. It shows that even for those lucky enough to be far from the front lines or the range of bombers, the struggles of this war must be reckoned with in every aspect of life. If you want to know more about the beginnings of prohibition black market crime, you can click right here on our Between Two Wars Season 2 episode. And remember that we are all depending on you to support our effort. So join the Time Ghost Army on Patreon and ring that bell.
Okay, guys, that is it with the black market of World War II on the Homefront, made on the World War II YouTube channel. The black market in whichever country, whichever region will exist for as long as, there are people who are desperate for the bare necessities to exist, to live, food, and there'll always be a black market for those who are greedy, those who want to hoard more money or more resources. And if they have goods and services that people want, they will sell them, but at a very high price. And then there'll be those who fight against the occupying governments. They will try their best in trying to divert as much resources, food, towards the people and not to those who have occupied their country. And then, of course, also in terms of governments, controlling the price of certain foodstuffs, it also creates an inflation within the local economies, and people aren't able to afford anymore. And this is one way of making an alternative to the rules and regulations that have been set out by the government. When you think about what happened with Japan and its occupying of different regions, and in those regions, especially like in the Philippines, where they are farming rice, where it used to cost a certain amount of money which was affordable for the people, and now it's just ballooned straight up to 30 pesos, which is crazy. And that will also create an avenue for a black market where people can acquire this food through different means without going through government regulations. So any country that thinks that they can have a control over something like this, or any army that thinks they can have a control over something like this, they are sadly mistaken. And even those countries that say that we've prepared ourselves for any eventuality when it comes to food, they're also just fooling themselves. A war is so unpredictable in many facets, in many levels to it. It's very complicated, very unknowable. You can prepare yourself to the highest degree with all your weapons, all your soldiers, all your food in reserves, but things happen. Factories burn, bunkers get destroyed, natural disasters are still also occurring. So things can happen, and all that food that you've been keeping, saving, that you've been putting in storage could all be lost, and then now you'll have to be looking elsewhere for food and find alternatives to feed yourselves. So there's always going to be a reasoning for a black market to exist, and there's just no way of really controlling something like this. Even in today's world, as free market economy as we may be across the world, there are still black markets that sell particular things that governments would not allow their citizens to acquire, and the internet has also opened that up for everybody, to acquire things that they would never have been able to acquire without this internet connection that connects the entire globe. And this is something that's not going to just go away. It's going to be with humanity for a very, very, very long time, for all eternity, probably, for all time, for as long as we live on Earth or wherever in the universe. Wherever there's a government and that government sets out regulations and rules, there'll be those who will find ways to circumvent it and make up their own marketplace where they can sell these goods and services. So yeah, it was interesting. Guys, that is it with World War II YouTube channel and the Homefront playlist. Remember, if you guys want to check out the original video as well as World War II YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos, and I'll see you guys hopefully next week. Okay?